San Mateo County Fair has hosted the Domini Hoskins Black History Museum and Learning Center as a showcase for a decade. The exhibit offers a wide range of cultural artifacts to educate and inform the community about Black history, as well as tell America's history. Education and inclusion have been a long-standing value of the San Mateo County Fair team, from hosting our annual Dia de la Feria that started in 2006 to showcasing museum exhibits such as Life on the Rock, a look at life as an incarcerated person in Alcatraz. While our roots are grounded in agricultural education, the fair staff is always conscientious and proactive to include and showcase the diversity of San Mateo. This is demonstrated by hosting Dia de la Feria, Pacific Islands Day, Family Pride Day, and reaching out to many diverse groups and inviting them into our fair programs. Much like a Best of Show quilt, America is made up of many colors, patterns, and fabrics stitched together to make a masterpiece. It is our responsibility to tell the story of each piece of fabric that make America a great society, and while not without pain and hardship for many, it's too important not to tell everyone's story, the good, the bad, and the inspirational. Carolyn Hoskins, the founder of the museum, decided to name this year's museum the America Museum, as it is America's history. The San Mateo County Fair team went right to work, expanded the exhibit. They also partnered with the San Mateo Historical Society and added more cultural displays to the building. The project resulted in incredible feedback and made the American History Museum one of the busiest buildings of the fair.
My name is Carolyn Hoskins, and I am the founder and director of the Domini Hoskins Black History Museum and Learning Center. The purpose of the museum is to educate children and adults about the accomplishments that African Americans have given to this great country. One of our greatest needs is education. Black history is not taught in most schools today. This is a race of people that it was illegal for them to learn to read and write. So that's why I say it's not just Black history, it's world history. Because everyone today, I'm sure at some point, is gonna pick up a bag of potato chips. And we can say thank you to George Crumb, an African American who invented the potato chip. When we get up in the morning, we get that hairbrush, we brush our hair, we can say thank you to a Black woman for the hairbrush. But I think the one thing that stands out for me personally is the invention and the discovery of blood plasma from Dr. Charles Drew. We can still say thank you to him for all of the people that have to have a blood transfusion. What we decided to do was to showcase the names of people that had died from violence. And what I did was I took crosses and I painted them black, and at the front I put a paragraph about who that person was. And it was just so moving from people making comments and standing there, reading, taking the time to read.
Every year I come here, I'm more and more impressed with the history she has here. And like's been said before, it's important that we all get behind Carolyn in this and support her in this, because it is our history and it's so very important. So I'm happy to be part of this. I've done it for the last four years, I think, here at the fair, and it's constantly getting more and more traction. So hopefully people will come out and enjoy this, because yes, it is a jewel.
To win this award with the San Mateo County Fair means that San Mateo County Fair gets it. They understand the importance of diversity. They understand the importance of Black history. For the San Mateo County Fair, this is a great, great opportunity to really expand what they already have. Everything evolves back around to education. And when you know the true meaning of something, then you have a different approach or a different way that you think about it. And so this definitely is an opportunity that I think is really going to expand this year at the fair.
The American History Museum is not limited to the Black American experience. A portion of the museum this year was dedicated to the history of Japanese Americans who lived and were interned at Tanforan in San Mateo County during World War II. This year, we worked to add on that exhibit and educated fairgoers on World War II internment of Japanese Americans.
Tanforan was originally a racetrack, and then during World War II, the Department of Defense took it over as a place to assemble Japanese Americans. Executive Order 9066, signed by Franklin Roosevelt in 1942, designated Japanese Americans as a threat to national security. Also was thought that they needed to be protected against hysteria that had set in on the West Coast. And so something like 110,000 Japanese Americans on the West Coast were evacuated. Places like Tanforan were called assembly centers. And so because the camps where the families would spend most of the war had not been built yet, these assembly centers were meant to contain them until such times as the camps would be completed. And so Tanforan, the stay was for some months, 3 or 4 months, something like that. And they had to make do with what it was. I mean, many of the families had to live in horse stalls, temporary housing of various kinds, and certainly it was not a comfortable situation. We did have comments from the community that appreciated that we were participating in this way, and that it's important, I think, to remember what happened in 1942, this roundup of American citizens, that we make sure that we don't make the same mistakes in the future. We get surprising comments from our visitors that, they've always lived in the county, but they didn't know that we exist. And some of them have said, well, we saw something, at the fairgrounds that indicated that there was more to see. And so we came to the museum because we had that experience at the fair.
We all know Martin Luther King's great legacy and words of wisdom. Our intent and the intent of the American Museum is to educate and give voice to the many people of color and backgrounds in our community and showcase their contributions and tell their story. To recognize, acknowledge, and give mindfulness to those things that must change, and celebrate contributions by many of our community that are not otherwise showcased or celebrated. So when you eat a potato chip, remember it's African-American inventor George Crumb. When you eat peanut butter, remember it's African-American inventor George Washington Carver. When you donate or need blood from a blood bank, remember African-American inventor Charles Richard Drew. And when you see the LED lights on a concession stand or a carnival ride, remember Nobel Prize-winning inventor Japanese-American Tsuji Nakamura. We are excited to celebrate achievements from all colors of our quilt and showcase those that may not get the same attention unless you look more closely.